going on, team? This is Nick checking in with episode 2 of the Government Cheese Podcast. And today I'm talking about starting. When I think about starting, I think about how I feel about myself in that moment. I think about the confidence that I have, the ideas that I have, the momentum that I have, the motivation that I have. And it makes me think about who I am in that moment. And a lot of times I go back and I think about those things that I started and I beat myself up about them because I didn't finish it or I didn't complete it. But I didn't give myself enough credit for even starting it to begin with. And I think when you start something, it says something about you. It says something about what you want, who you want to be, and how do you see yourself, at least at that moment. And so many times in my life, I've put so much credit or I've given so much attention to trying to finish a thing. I don't put enough appreciation into starting a thing. When you start something, you have an idea of yourself at that moment. You have a vision of yourself that says, you know what? This is the thing that I want to do. And I believe I have what it takes to do it. I believe I have what it takes to complete it at this moment. But we know that life happens, right? Life happens and things come up. And for whatever reason, things may slow down, they taper off. And those ideas, that motivation, that drive, over time begins to slow. And then the thing that you started becomes another thing on your to-do list or another thing that you didn't do. And I can go on and on about the amount of things that's on my list, right? The list of things that I didn't do, the list of things that I didn't complete, the list of things that I said, man, if I would have just finished that and stuck to that, I would be here. Or if I decided not to leave that thing, I will be here. But I want all of us to just take some time and appreciate the fact that we started. Yeah, we may not necessarily finish it. We may not get to the finish line of all of our goals, but the fact that we started something should mean something, right? It means that at the end of the day, it doesn't necessarily matter what we think we will achieve, because the lesson is in starting, right? Because you can't finish something unless you start it anyway. And so every finished thing, right? Every thing that is worth something that you work for, it had a starting place, right? And just because you start something and you don't finish it, that doesn't mean that it's over. You just have a pause, right? There's a setback of some sorts, but I don't think that we should move forward in our life criticizing ourselves about our false starts, so to speak. Because one thing about, I used to run track back in the day. I wasn't that great. I just did it for the exercise. But one thing about track, you realize that you have false starts. You would jump the gun. And if, even though that person started wrong, right? They took off before the gun popped off. That doesn't mean that they aren't equipped to run the race, right? They just got off to a bad start. And I think that's how we should look at ourselves. At least that's how I'm going to try to look at myself. I've started things in my life and those things didn't pan out that I planned for them to. But it's just a false start, right? It's just one race. I can always get back on the track, right? The track isn't going anywhere, right? But if I leave the track, then everything is over. And so I want you to just think about some false starts in your life. Like, think about some things that you may have done or said, have completed that you can go back to, right? With a new attitude of not just saying, man, I didn't finish this, or I wish I would have. It's okay. It's all right. You're going to have times where things just seem to fall apart, right? I've dealt with that. I'm dealing with that. And I'm realizing that it's just a part of life. We're not machines. I'm only a human being. So everything that I set out to do, I may not complete it simply because of the fact that I get sick, I get tired, I get hungry, I get bored, I lose hope, I lose motivation, I lose that will, But I think the main thing is that you have an idea of yourself, right? Whatever idea that you had initially to start that thing, if you could get that thing in your mind, right? If I can get that thing in my mind and tell myself that, hey, when I wanted to do this, this is what I thought about myself. This is what I thought I could do. But there was a break somewhere along the way. How can I go back and make sure that I don't trip over that obstacle again? How can I make sure that moving forward, I don't stifle my own progress based on things that are going to come up? What are some workarounds that I could do to make sure that I don't lose myself in life, right? Trying to complete this thing or finish this thing or focus myself to complete something that I started. So I'm saying all this to say, cut yourself some slack, give yourself some grace, because, life is hard. Life is not easy. You have people that start out with you and then they don't end with you. And that can be a change. You may move to a new city. That could be a change. You may lose your job. That could be another change. But it's when we stop, right? It's when we allow those false starts to diminish and completely destroy our motivation altogether. It's when we actually lost. And so I think that you have what it takes. I think that you are able to go back to that past self and say, man, when I had this idea about this thing, I felt so good about myself. I knew that I could do it then. And I'm here to tell you that you can still do it now. I can still do it now. To be completely honest and transparent, this podcast is 10 years in the making. When I started it, I was so confident about it. I said, I could do this. I'll be able to do that. This is going to do this. I can make sure that I'm able to do this. And I did it. I recorded an episode. It was fine. And then all of a sudden I stopped. I don't even know why. Maybe I was nervous about what someone would say about my voice. Maybe I was apprehensive of what people would say. Maybe I got distracted by life. I don't know what happened. But I always had in my mind that I would come back to it because I started. And because I started, I knew that I could always come back to it. And maybe that was the whole point of me starting anyway, for me not to go all the way out and try to kill it. But maybe that start was just to let me know that, hey, you can start again because you started already. And so whether it's been 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years, I think that it's never too late for any of us to start again. But I don't know. What do you think? And share this with somebody who you think needs to hear this. Share this with someone who may be going back and forth about, man, I've always had this idea about this, but I don't know what people will say, or I don't know how it will go over. Who knows? This may be something that can help you or that person start fresh again.